Hello everyone, welcome back to another video of Cloud Deep Dive. In today's video, we are going to talk about RBAC versus ABAC with AWS SSO. RBAC means role-based access control and ABAC means attribute-based access control. So first, let's start with RBAC and try to understand what is role-based access control. So let's take an analogy of your organization where you have different roles like solution architect, developer, or system administrator. Your organization has already defined some set of policies about those uh, roles, that solution architect can do this particular task or can access these resources. Similarly, developer can perform these tasks and access these resources. So all these policy has been already created and is assigned to a particular role. So if you pay attention that I'm talking about role, not about a user. The user comes into the picture. So suppose a new employee joins your company. Now what role he or she joined. If the person is joined as a solution architect, then they will assume the role of solution architect and they will get all the permissions which assigned to that role. So you will see here that no permissions are assigned to the user, the permissions are assigned to the role, and whosoever user is assuming that role will get all those access or all those permissions. So this is what the role based access control, like in AWS or in IAM or SSO. Whenever a user assume a role, you will notice that the policy is assigned to the role, not to the user. User is just assuming that role, and whatever policy is assigned to that role, that user will inherit those policy or those permissions and will be able to grant it those things. So that helps that if you have multiple users, you just need to create one role and assign the policy to that role. Like in this example, I'm showing that you have multiple solution architects, you just created one role, assign the permissions which that role require, and all the solution architects can assume that particular role and get access to your accounts or your resources. Now what will happen that if you have suppose you have developers and they are working in two different projects, one is green project, one is blue project, and they need to access to EC2 resources based on their project. If I just have one role of developer role which has the same permissions for all the developers, then it will be difficult for me to segregate that only these developers can access only resources which belong to the green project, because the role give permission to all the resources because it has same permission set. Now to solve the challenge, what we can do it, we can create two different roles, one for the green project, one for the blue project, and these developer can assume these roles, that a green project developer can assume the green role, and the blue project developers can assume the blue project role. But the problem with that is the scalability. Suppose now the third project comes into the picture, then you need to involve your IAM administrator department to create those policy, to create these roles, and then developers will assume that role, and kind of lot of work has to be done behind the scene. So to solve this challenge, the attribute based access control comes in the picture. What is an ABAC? ABAC is an authorization strategy that defines permissions based on attribute. And when we say attribute, we mean the tags. You can use AWS SSO to manage access to your AWS resources across multiple AWS accounts using user attribute that comes from AWS SSO identity source. And here, like I mentioned, that attributes are known as tags. So what we are talking about, that based on the developer's attribute, based on the developer from which project they belong, you can use that attribute, that project attribute which is tagged with those developers, to provide them access into your resources. So in your policy, when you write it, you can add a condition that based on these attributes they will get access to a particular resources. And I'm going to show you in the demo that how you can write such policies and what you can do with your resources so that only developers in a particular project will get access to particular resources. Okay, so next we'll do the demo, and in that I'll show you that how you can enable attribute based access control for AWS SSO, because by default it's not enabled. And what I have done that I have created a policy which is attached to or basically a permission set which has an inline policy. I have some condition to so that it's checked for the attributes. uh, Second, what I've done that I've created some EC2 resources in my one of the account, one for the green project and one for the blue project. And in the end of the demo, I'll show you that the developer who belongs to the green project will be able to access only or perform action only on the EC2 resources which belong to the green project, and the developer from the blue project will be able to access or uh, perform actions only on the EC2 resources which belong to blue project. So let's go to the console and I'll show you how it works in the demo and how you can set it up. Okay, so I have logged in into my console, and to enable attribute based access control, you go to AWS SSO, you go to setting, and from there you can click on enable, and here attribute access control is enabled. Now I can show you the permission set which I've created is EC2 custom, and if you go to the inline policy, what it says that any user who is assuming this particular permission set or role will be able to describe all the EC2 instances, but the start and stop instances based on a condition which says that my resource tag, that means the tag on the EC2, and the key will be department. If the tag in my EC2 instance value matches with the principal tag of the user. So whenever user log into any of the account by using AWS SSO, you know that SAML assertion happen. And in that SAML assertion, we can send some principal tags to AWS SSO or to that particular account. And based on those tags, this policy can find out that from which department this user belong. So what we will do that we will add or we will start sending the department tag from my SAML assertion from Azure Active Directory. Whenever the user will log in, they will send or they will come with the principal tag of department and what's the value of the department for that user. And to start with, what I have done that for those users uh, in Azure Active Directory, because all the data gets synced with AWS SSO. For this user, I have defined the department as blue, so I don't know the project tag, so I just using the department, and that's for the AWS IAM. And for the other user, test AWS, you can see it belongs to the green department. So when this user will log into that particular account, it will come with the principal tag of green, and the other user will come with the principal tag of blue. So next, what we need to do, we need to assign accounts to these users. So for that, I'll go to AWS account and we'll use our development account again. Here, I'm gonna assign users, and these two users will be assigned, and I'll give them the EC2 custom role. I'll be assign these roles. Let me assign the administrator role as well. I want to show you something, and then click submit. So these roles will be assigned. Next, how these tags will be sent, how the Azure Active Directory knows that I need to send these tags, this department tag in the SAML assertion. So there are a couple of ways you can do it, and depend upon the identity source as well. So if you go to the AWS documentation, attribute for access control, depending upon what is your identity source, if you're using AWS SSO or if you're using AWS Managed Active Directory, then you can define these tags, what tag you want to bring in your SAML assertion here in your attribute for access control. But if you are using any external identity provider, like in our case we are using Azure Active Directory, then you have two ways. One, either you can assign it here as only attribute for access control, or you can configure your IDP to send this attribute through SAML assertion. So you have two ways to do that, and I'm gonna show you in this demo both the ways. Okay, before I add any attribute anywhere, what I want to show you that what happen or what kind of attributes we are getting when these users are logging in to this AWS SSO. So let's go to a different browser and try to log in for these users. And I need the one of the user email address. So suppose let's pick up this particular user. Next. So when the user will log in, now you can see because we assigned two different roles to this user, and this user can access the console for this account by using either of these roles. So depending on which role it will assume, this user will get permission based on that role. So that is role-based access control. Now suppose we are going with the administrator access. And what I want to do, I want to go to the CloudTrail and event history. So I want to go with the name assume role with SAML. So it might take a minute or so. Let me pause the video and come back when this is populated. Okay, so it's populated. If I show you, and this is the CloudTrail log which shows that what the SAML assertion has happened. If you go in this, you will see only one principal tag is sent by that Azure Active Directory, which is a session SSM session run as, which is test AWS, and that's the tag I added on the Azure side, which I'll show you later. So now what I'm gonna do that let me sign out from here, and we'll go back to our attributes. And what we need to do that we are going to add a new attribute that we want to get department from in our SAML assertion. So and we need to provide a value. So few of them is pre-populated in the pop-up, but what we need to do, we need to find a correct mapping for this SAML assertion in our Azure Active Directory. So for that, I'll go to the AWS documentation where the attribute mappings are defined. And attribute mapping are used to map attribute type that exist in AWS SSO with a like attribute in either your Microsoft Active Directory or your AWS SSO or your external identity provider. So AWS has already defined few attributes which can be mapped, and only these attributes are supported. So I'll copy for the department and I'll put the value here, and we'll do save changes. So now what will happen whenever the SAML assertion happen, you will start getting the department as well in your principal tags. So I'll log in again. We'll go to the same administrator access just to show you that how the CloudTrail looks like. We'll go to CloudTrail. Okay, so it might take again a little bit more time because this is the last one which we checked. Let me pause the video, and then once it's come in this in event history, I'll show you. Okay, so my logs are populated, and if I open this assume role with SAML, you will see that a new principal tag is added as department as screen, because I logged in by using the test AWS user for which we have entered the value of department as screen. So you start getting the department value here. Now let me close it. Now I'll assume this particular role EC2 custom, where we have those conditions that this particular user will be able to access only those resources which belong to green project. So we'll log into this by assuming this particular role, and we'll go to EC2. So see, because I don't have access to all the services, so only instances which are there I will be able to see, because I gave the access to the describe instances. So that's why here I'm able to describe both the instances. And if I go to the blue, you will see the tag name department is blue, and for the green project the tag name is green, because this user belong to green project, and if it tried to do anything with the blue instance, it should not be able to do any action on it. So let's try to start, and you see this user got an error message. So we are using the same role for both the users, but based on the attribute, based on which from which project this user belong, they are able to access only those resources. So if I go to the green and it try to start, see, it's able to start the resource, because this green EC2 instance belong to the green project, because the department is green. So you can see that based on the tags what is coming in the SAML assertion, they are able to um, they are able to access the resources. So that was the one way you can get the tags in the SAML assertion. So now let's do one thing, manage attribute, and we'll delete this particular tag from here. Now what is the another way to add the tags? The other way to add the tags is through Azure Active Directory. For that, what you will do, you to open your enterprise application, go to single sign-on, select SAML, and then you will go to attribute and claims. So remember in the while showing the logs for CloudTrail, I show you there is a tag was coming, SSM session run as. So that's the tag I added here in my attributes and claims, and that's why you were able to see it in that principal tag. And if you want to add a new tag, so you can click on new, add new claim, then you can give the value at department, and you need to provide a namespace. And from where you'll get it, you go to the AWS documentation under manage your identity source. So for each supported identity, right now we are doing like for Azure Active Directory, I'll go in there, and there's a method that how you can configure ABAC for using AWS SSO. So we already talked about one of the method that you can do it in your by using your attribute from access control page. The other way, it's showing that how you can do it by using from the Azure Active Directory side. So you click on add new claim, and you will put the enter the access control attribute name and replace the attribute name with whatever name you want to do it. And then the namespace, you will enter this particular value. So we'll give this, and from here you have to select that with which attribute you want to map it. So in our case, we want to map it with department. So we'll select that and we'll save it. So once it's saved, you can see that it's kind of, sorry, I did one mistake here. Like it said, it has to be access control colon and then attribute name. So let's change that and then save it. So with that, what will happen that now whenever this user will log in, this department tag will be sent from Azure Active Directory in SAML assertion. So let's go back to our console. Let's sign out from here, and we can sign out from here as well. And when we'll sign in, and we can go to EC2 custom. If you go to EC2, now we can see that go to instances, and if I try to do anything with the blue project, because I'm logged in by using the test AWS, which is a green project team member, I won't be able to do anything. And to show you the tags how it's coming, let's log in by using the administrator access and go to our CloudTrail logs. event source. So it again, it will take a little bit of time to populate it. So let me, or maybe yeah, this is the one, because we logged in by using our admin access. So here you go, and you can see that in our principal tag we are getting the SSM session runner and department, both the tags, and based on these tags you were able to access these EC2 resources. So that's it about attribute based access control and role based access control, folks. Please let me know if you have any question or any comment about it. I will be happy to answer those questions. Please hit the like button and share with your friends if you found this videos useful, and please subscribe to my channel. I will be uploading more videos on AWS. Till then, thank you so much and thank you for watching. Bye.